Charis Kai Irene. Grace and peace to you. My name is Abiut Sagaya and I'm teaching Biblical Greek. I have students in one of the seminaries in Ethiopia. So I help them go through the lessons. So what I do a video lesson every time or every week so that I help the students to go through the material. So this lesson is brought to you not as a full load course, but as a highlight. So these video lessons are not the full load of the study, but they are very helpful. Although they are very short, but they are very helpful. So anyone who wants to start his beginning Greek class, I hope he will find it helpful. So this is what I do every week. So I appreciate if you can go through the lesson and give me your feedback, your comments, and also don't hesitate to subscribe to this channel. Let's grow this channel so that people learn the Greek of the Bible, so that they will have the feel of the original language. So the Lord willing, we may keep adding lessons as we go forward, and I hope you will enjoy it. May the Lord bless you. Thank you once again. Charis Kai Irene. Grace and peace to you. Greek 1, Lesson 2, Part 3. Examples and exercises. This part of the lesson is very important. Now we are going to do practical examples of the contraction of verbs. We talked about contract verbs in our Greek 1, Lesson 2, Part 2. So here comes the practice of how this look like in a practical way. So I hope this will be a very good lesson for you to grasp the concepts that we have already gone through in our Lesson 2, Part 2. So let's go to the examples and the exercises. Before we start the examples and the exercises, let's also read from 1 John chapter 1, verse 2. Ioannou Alpha. Kai he zoe efnerote kai urakamen kai maraturomen kai apengalomen humein ten zoen ten ionon hetes hen proston patera kai iphanerote humein. Exercise 2.1 A. An example. So we begin with the example of the most basic forms of the Greek verb. A good example is luo. Luo is the regular verb, has no contraction. Okay, it's not irregular with like the other verbs that we are going to look at. So let's begin with this one. Now, the exercise asks you to give in 3 persons, that is first, second, third persons, singular, plural, the present indicative active form for the following verbs. Okay, there are verbs that you are going to also do for your exercise. This is an example. This example is very important because you will rely on this example to do your exercise, which is an assignment, and it has a credit, a mark for it. And then you need to also give the translation, the approximate translation. Good. So let's begin with the regular one. This is not regular, not irregular, because there will be no contraction that would happen. Why? Because luo with other verbs, with other regular verbs, and it is a stem with a consonant, not with epsilon, not with alpha, not with omicron. And there will be no trouble here. Very easy, simple, very straightforward. So be happy here, okay? Now, the given verb is baleo. I throw, or I am throwing. Baleo. This is the vocabulary form. It is in the present indicative active form. So the first person singular is baleo. And the second person singular is ballets. And the third person singular is ballet. And the first person plural is ballomen. And the second person plural is ballete. And the third person plural is ballosin. So where did I get this all? You remember in our lesson 2, part 2, we talked about these paradigms. The present indicative active form personal endings are these ones. So what did I do? The only thing I did was to remove the, to write down the stem, the root word. Okay, the root word is ballet. So it has ballet throughout. It's a root word. Then you attach the endings to it. And this process is called conjugation. Okay, simple. This is what you do for your next exercise. But then we talked about the other types of verbs. Okay, the other verbs whose stem end with vowels, epsilon, omicron, alpha, and trouble comes there. There is where changes happen, and this change is called contraction. And we got rules for how to engage with these changes. So that one we will going to look at it in the next slide. But for now, this is a simple, the forward, regular form of ballet. Okay, baleo. So I throw, I'm throwing, you throw, you are throwing, he, she, it throws or is throwing. And be careful in your exercise that you correspond to first person singular like this, second person singular. It should show. Okay. What happens in the case of like we have ballets and ballette? How would I know? Okay, the English will not tell me if it is plural or singular, but the Greek will tell you ballets, ballette. So here, Greek is rich language. Okay, but when it is written in English, the only way you can know it is plural or singular is by looking at the context. Context is the king. Now let's go to the next slide. Here is an exercise for you. Now this is not an example, but what you need to do is to follow the example in the previous slide and produce in 3 persons the present indicative active forms for these 2 verbs. Plepeo, I see, and legeo, I say. Please stick to the previous lesson's example. It is very easy. Okay, good. And it has 4 marks. I'm going to mark them. Exercise 2.1, B, an example. Here is also an example, then follows an exercise for you to do based on this example. Now, B is this. You are going to give the person number of each of the following verbs. They are all in indicative, mood, and active voice from 1 John. Now, here, what you are required to do is just to tell us or tell me or identify what person is it and in what number is it. Is it first person? Is it first person, second person, third person, or is it singular or plural? Here is an example. The verb that was given is apangelomen from apangeleo. I proclaim. Apangeleo is the first person singular. So the translation is I proclaim. And your answer should be, for example, if you are given this verb, you should just answer that this is first person singular. Here is an example for apangelomen. So I indicated or underlined the ending because I have this regular verb whose stem ends with a consonant regular verb, and I have they personal ending, the first person plural personal ending omen. So the answer is it is first person and it is plural. The translation is we proclaim. So if you are given any verb in the next exercise, this is what you are going to do. Then the second example is katarize. Katarize from katarezo. Katarezo. I cleanse. Here again, this is first person singular. Hence, the answer is it is third person because A is a third person and the number is singular. So he, she, it cleanses. It is very easy, but please follow the example that I give you here to do the exercise in the next slide. Now, this is an exercise for you. It will have 6 marks. Here, what you are going to give is the person and number, the way I did it in the previous lesson. Sorry, in the previous slide. Just follow that example and just give me the number and person, the number and person of these Greek verbs, graphomen, ekte, and ginoske. Good job. Now, exercise 2a, an example. Here now comes verbs ending with epsilon, like phileo. So here is where you need to pay attention, okay? At this point, we are going to talk about contraction, the contracting verbs. We said contraction happens with verbs whose stem ends with epsilon, alpha, and omicron. Good. Now, here you are going to give the 6 forms of each verb, okay, and the translation. For example, I'm going to give you an example of adeko. Adeko, I do wrong or I injure. So to do that, what I need to do is apply the rules, the rules given in the previous lesson on how to do the contraction. So this is the first rule. But whenever I do an example, I will give you how the pattern works. So let's just go right to the example. Here is the example, adikeo. So the verb that we are given is adikeo. And notice here, this verb ends with epsilon. This verb is a stem. Okay, the root word or the stem ends with epsilon. So this is the first contract type of verb. Okay? O is an ending, the first person singular ending. You just leave it there. But now let's see how the pattern works. Now the first person singular adike, that is, look at this one. Throughout you have epsilon. That means this is written out for you. All these are the stem. They end with epsilon. Then now you need to attach, or now you need to add the personal ending, first person singular ending of the present indicative active form is ou. So what happens when epsilon receives an omega? What happens? An omega is a long vowel. So you see this arrow, a line with an arrowhead. What does it say? The pattern says this, the rule. If epsilon plus long vowel, that is omega or eta, or diphthong, that is 2 vowels together, the epsilon disappears. So now this is how it works. We have a decay epsilon and then we have omega. So when omega comes, the rule says epsilon disappears. So if epsilon disappears, then what is remaining? The remaining are article, these words, these letters, okay? So the long vowel omega remains here. So article, article. I do wrong, I'm doing wrong. The same rule applies here. Add K plus a diphthong. Okay, look at this one. Add K plus a diphthong. Or even, yeah, a diphthong. Add K plus a epsilon plus a diphthong. Then E disappears. Okay, epsilon disappears. This epsilon disappears. Then what do we have? We have the AE. Okay, one epsilon disappears, so adicase, adicase. Okay, adicase. And adicate, again, the same rule here. Then adicate plus, you see, OU, then it's a diphthong, so epsilon disappears, we'll have adicomen. Again, okay, I think I need to work out on this one. Adk plus omen should be omen, okay? Epsilon plus omicron, the result is OU, omen. So pardon me, this is not the way it's supposed to be written. So you remove this one, epsilon should be removed. It should be a mistake, but the result remains the same. It is correct. The result is correct, but this one is wrong. I shall remove this one. So please don't be deceived. This epsilon should never be here. It should be omen, not woman. Woman is the result of the epsilon plus the omicron. Then adk plus epsilon plus eta e epsilon, the epsilon, you will have ae. So adicate. And adk with epsilon plus ou diphthong, we said e disappears, so we have adicosin. So if you have question, you will ask me in our group platform, but this is helpful. Okay, follow this. When you do the exercise, come back many times as possible as you can to do the exercise. Don't attempt the exercise without getting the concept clear. Exercise 2, which will have 2 marks. So follow the example in the previous slide. What you are going to do is akolute. I follow. Please follow the slide in the previous slide, which has an example. So you follow direct, or you follow the same example, the same pattern as you have it in the example. Good. Now we have come to the end of part 3, and the next lesson will be part 4. See you until then. Thank you. Bye-bye.